chapters 9 to 17 of Joshua from the World English Bible. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Anton Epp. The Book of Joshua from the World English Bible, chapters 9 to 17. Chapter 9. It happened, when all the kings who were beyond the Jordan, in the hill country, and in the lowland, and on all the shore of the great sea in front of Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite heard of it, that they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and to Ai, they also resorted to a ruse, and went and made as if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks on their donkeys, and wineskins, old and torn and bound up, and old and patched shoes on their feet, and wore old garments. All the bread of their provision was dry and mouldy. They went to Joshua to the camp at Gilgal, and said to him and to the men of Israel, We have come from a far country, now therefore make a covenant with us. The men of Israel said to the Hivites, What if you live among us? How could we make a covenant with you? They said to Joshua, We are your servants. Joshua said to them, Who are you? Where do you come from? They said to him, Your servants come from a very far country because of the name of Yahweh your God, for we have heard of his fame, all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon king of Heshbon, and to Og king of Bashan, who was at Ashtaroth. Our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spoke to us, saying, Take provision in your hand for the journey, and go to meet them, and tell them, We are your servants. Now make a covenant with us. This our bread we took hot for our provision out of our houses on the day we went to go to you. But now, behold, it is dry, and has become mouldy. These wineskins which we filled were new, and behold, they are torn. These our garments and our shoes have become old because of the very long journey. The men sampled their provisions, and didn't ask counsel from the mouth of Yahweh. Joshua made peace with them, and made a covenant with them to let them live. The princes of the congregation swore to them. It happened at the end of 3 days after they had made a covenant with him, that they heard that they were their neighbors, and that they lived among them. The children of Israel traveled and came to their cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Chephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. The children of Israel didn't strike them because the princes of the congregation had sworn to them by Yahweh, the God of Israel. All the congregation murmured against the princes, but all the princes said to the congregation, We have sworn to them by Yahweh, the God of Israel. Now therefore we may not touch them. This we will do to them, and let them live, lest wrath be on us because of the oath which we swore to them. The princes said to them, Let them live. So they became woodcutters and drawers of water for all the congregation, as the princes had spoken to them. Joshua called for them, and he spoke to them, saying, Why have you deceived us, saying, We are very far from you, when you live among us? Now therefore you are cursed, and some of you will never fail to be bondservants, both woodcutters and drawers of water for the house of my God. They answered Joshua and said, Because your servants were certainly told how Yahweh your God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land, and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you, therefore we were very afraid for our lives because of you, and have done this thing. Now behold, we are in your hand. Do to us as it seems good and right to you to do. He did so to them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, so that they didn't kill them. That day Joshua made them woodcutters and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of Yahweh to this day in the place which he should choose. Chapter 10. Now it happened, when Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had taken Ai, and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and were among them, that they were very afraid, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were mighty. Therefore Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoham, king of Hebron, and to Piram, king of Jarmuth, and to Japhia, king of Lachish, and to Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up to me, and help me. and let us strike Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they and all their armies, and encamped against Gibeon, and made war against it. The men of Gibeon sent to Joshua to the camp to Gilgal, saying, Don't abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly, and save us, and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the hill country have gathered together against us. So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. Yahweh said to Joshua, Don't fear them, for I have delivered them into your hands. Not a man of them will stand before you. Joshua therefore came on them suddenly. He went up from Gilgal all night. Yahweh confused them before Israel, and he killed them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them by the way of the ascent of Beth Horon, and struck them to Azekah and to Makkedah. It happened, as they fled from before Israel, while they were at the descent of Beth Horon, that Yahweh cast down great stones from the sky on them to Azekah, and they died. There were more who died from the hailstones than who the children of Israel killed with the sword. Then Joshua spoke to Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand still on Gibeon, you moon, stop in the valley of Aijalon. The sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the nation had avenged themselves of their enemies. Isn't this written in the book of Jashar? The sun stayed in the midst of the sky, and didn't hurry to go down about a whole day. There was no day like that before, nor after it, that Yahweh listened to the voice of a man, for Yahweh fought for Israel. Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp to Gilgal. These 5 kings fled, and hid themselves in the cave of Makkedah. Joshua was told, saying, The 5 kings are found, hidden in the cave at Makkedah. Joshua said, Roll large stones to the mouth of the cave, and set men by it to guard them. But don't stay. Pursue your enemies, and them from the rear. Don't allow them to enter into their cities, for Yahweh your God has delivered them into your hand. It happened when Joshua and the children of Israel had finished killing them with a very great slaughter until they were consumed, and the remnant which remained of them had entered into the fortified cities, that all the people returned to the camp of Joshua at Makkedah in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. Then Joshua said, Open the mouth of the cave, and bring those 5 kings out of the cave to me. They did so, and brought those 5 kings out of the cave to him, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. It happened, when they brought those kings out to Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said to the chiefs of the men of war who went with him, Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings. They came near, and put their feet on their necks. Joshua said to them, Don't be afraid, nor be dismayed. Be strong and courageous, for Yahweh will do this to all your enemies against whom you fight. Afterward Joshua struck them, and put them to death, and hanged them on 5 trees. They were hanged on the trees until the evening. It happened at the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees, and cast them into the cave in which they had hidden themselves, and laid great stones on the mouth of the cave, which remain to this very day. Joshua took Makkedah on that day, and struck it with the edge of the sword, with its king. He utterly destroyed them and all the souls who were in it. He left none remaining. He did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua passed from Makkedah, and all the Israel with him, to Libnah, and fought against Libnah. Yahweh delivered it also, with its king, into the hand of Israel. He struck it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls who were in it. He left none remaining in it. He did to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua passed from Libnah, and all Israel with him, to Lachish, and encamped against it, and fought against it. Yahweh delivered Lachish into the hand of Israel. He took it on the 2nd day, and struck it with the edge of the sword, with all the souls who were in it, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Then Horam king of Gezer came up to help Lachish, and Joshua struck him and his people until he had left him none remaining. Joshua passed from Lachish, and all Israel with him, to Eglon, and they encamped against it, fought against it. They took it on that day, and struck it with the edge of the sword. He utterly destroyed all the souls who were in it on that day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. Joshua went up from Eglon, and all Israel with him, to Hebron, and they fought against it, and they took it, and struck it with the edge of the sword, with its kings and all its cities, and all the souls who were in it. He left none remaining, according to all that he had done to Eglon, but he utterly destroyed it, and all the souls who were in it. Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to Debir, and fought against it. He took it, with its kings and all its cities. They struck them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls who were in it. He left none remaining. As he had done to Hebron, so he did to Debir, and to its king. As he had done also to Libnah, and to its king. So Joshua struck all the land, the hill country, and the south, and the lowland, and the slopes, and all their kings. He left none remaining, but he utterly destroyed all that breathed, as Yahweh the God of Israel commanded. Joshua struck them from Kadesh Barnea even to Gaza, and all the country of Goshen even to Gibeon. Joshua took all these kings and their land at one time, because Yahweh the God of Israel fought for Israel. Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp to Gilgal. Chapter 11. It happened, when Jabin king of Hazor heard of it, that he sent to Joab king of Madon, to the king of Shimron, to the king of Akshaph, and to the kings who were on the north, in the hill country, in the Arabah south of Shinneroth, in the lowland, and in the heights of Dor on the west, to the Canaanite on the east and on the west, and to the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Jebusite in the hill country, and the Hivite under Hemron in the land of Mizpah. They went out, they and all their armies with them, many people, even as the sand that is on the seashore in multitude, with very many horses and chariots. All these kings met together, and they came and encamped together at the waters of Mirmon, to fight with Israel. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Don't be afraid because of them, for tomorrow at this time I will deliver them up slain before Israel. You shall hamstring their horses, and burn their chariots with fire." So Joshua came, and all the people of war with him, against them by the waters of Mirmon suddenly, and fell on them. Yahweh delivered them into the hand of Israel, and they struck them, and chased them to the great Sidon, and to Misrephoth-Maim, and to the valley of Mizpah eastward. They struck them until they left them none remaining. Joshua did to them as Yahweh told them. He hamstrung their horses, and burnt their chariots with fire. Joshua turned back at that time, and took Hazor, and struck its king with the sword, for Hazor used to be the head of all those kingdoms. They struck all the souls who were in it with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them. There was no one left who breathed. He burnt Hazor with fire. Joshua captured all the cities of those kings, with their kings, and he struck them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed them, as Moses the servant of Yahweh commanded. But as for the cities that stood on their mounds, Israel burned none of them, except Hazor only. Joshua burned that. The children of Israel took all the spoil of these cities, with the livestock, as spoils for themselves. But every man they struck with the edge of the sword, until they had destroyed them. They didn't leave any who breathed. As Yahweh commanded Moses his servant, so Moses commanded Joshua. Joshua did so. He left nothing undone of all that Yahweh commanded Moses. So Joshua captured all that land, the hill country, all the south, all the land of Goshen, the lowland, the Arabah, the hill country of Israel, and the lowland of the same, from Mount Halak that goes up to Seir, even to Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon under Mount Hermon. He took all their kings, struck them, and put them to death. Joshua made war a long time with all those kings. There was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel, except the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. They took all in battle, for it was of Yahweh to harden their hearts to come against Israel in battle, that he might utterly destroy them, that they might have no favor, but that he might destroy them, as Yahweh commanded Moses. Joshua came at that time, and cut off the Anakim from the hill country, from Hebron, from Debir, from Anab, and from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua utterly destroyed them with their cities. There were none of the Anakim left in the land of the children of Israel. Only in Gaza, in Gath, and in Ashdod did some remain. So Joshua took the whole land, according to all that Yahweh had spoke to Moses. And Joshua gave it for an inheritance to Israel, according to their divisions by their tribes. The land had rest from war. Chapter 12. Now these are the kings of the land whom the children of Israel struck, and possessed their land beyond the Jordan toward the sunrise, from the valley of the Arnon to Mount Hermon, and all the Arabah eastward. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, and ruled from Aroer, which is on the edge of the valley of the Arnon, and the middle of the valley, and half Gilead, even to the river Jabbok, the border of the children of Ammon, and the Arabah to the sea of Shinneroth eastward, and to the sea of the Arabah, even the salt sea eastward, the way to Beth Jeshemoth, and on the south under the slopes of Pisgah, and the border of Og, king of Bashan, to the remnant of the Rephaim, who lived at Ashtaroth, and in Edrei, and ruled in Mount Hermon, and in Salakah, and in all Bashan, to the border of the Gerushites, and the Maccathites, and half Gilead, the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses the servant of Yahweh, and the children of Israel struck them. Moses the servant of Yahweh gave it for a possession to the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half-tribe of Manasseh. These are the kings of the land whom Joshua and the children of Israel struck beyond the Jordan westward, from Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon even to Mount Halak that goes up to Seir. Joshua gave it to the tribes of Israel for a possession according to their divisions, in the hill country, and in the lowland, and in the Arabah, and in the slopes, and in the wilderness, and in the south, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Geder, 1. The king of Hormah, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Libnah, 1. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Makkedah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tappuah, 1. The king of Hepher, 1. The king of Aphek, 1. The king of Lasharon, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Shimron-Meron, 1. The king of Akshaph, 1. The king of Tanach, 1. The king of Medigo, 1. The king of Kadesh, 1. The king of Jokneam in Carmel, 1. The king of Dor in the height of Dor, 1. The king of Goim in Gilgal, 1. The king of Tisra, 1. All the kings, 31. Chapter 13. Now Joshua was old and well advanced in years. Yahweh said to him, You are old and advanced in years, and there remains yet very much land to be possessed. This is the land that still remains, all the regions of the Philistines, and all the Geshurites, from the Shihor, which is before Egypt, even to the border of Ekron northward, which is counted as Canaanite, the 5 lords of the Philistines, the Gazites, and the Ashdodites, and the Ashkelonites, the Gittites, and the Ekronites, also the Avim on the south, and all the land of the Canaanites, and Mira that belongs to the Sidonians, to Aphek to the border of the Amorites, and the land of the Gebalites, and all Lebanon toward the sunrise, from Baal Gad under Mount Hermon to the entrance of Hamath, all the inhabitants of the hill country of Lebanon, to Misrephoth Maim, even all the Sidonians. Them will I drive out from before the children of Israel, only allocated to Israel for an inheritance, as I have commanded you. Now therefore divide this land for an inheritance to the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh, With them the Reubenites and the Gadites received their inheritance, which Moses gave them beyond the Jordan eastward, even as Moses the servant of Yahweh gave them, from Aroer that is on the edge of the valley of the Arnon, and the city that is in the middle of the valley, and all the plain of Medeba to Dibon, and all the cities of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, to the border of the children of Ammon, and Gilead, and the border of the Geshurites, and Maccathites, and all Mount Hermon, and all Bashan, to Salakah, and all the kingdom of Og in Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth, and in Edrei. The same was left of the remnant of the Rephaim, for Moses attacked these and drove them out. Nevertheless, the children of Israel didn't drive out the Geshurites, nor the Maccathites, but Geshur and Maccath dwell in the midst of Israel to this day. Only he gave no inheritance to the tribe of Levi. The offerings of Yahweh, the God of Israel, made by fire, are his inheritance, as he spoke to him. Moses gave to the tribe of the children of Reuben, according to their families. Their border was from Aroer, that is on the edge of the valley of the Arnon, and the city that is in the middle of the valley, and all the plain of Medeba, Heshbon, and all its cities that are in the plain, Dibon, Bamoth Baal, Beth Baal Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephath, Kiriathaim, Sibmah, Zereth Sahar in the mount of the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, Beth Jeshimoth, all the cities of the plain, and all the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, whom Moses struck with the chiefs of Midian, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the princes of Sihon, who lived in the land. The children of Israel also killed Balaam, the son of Beor, the soothsayer, with the sword, among the rest of their slain. The border of the children of Reuben was the bank of the Jordan. This was the inheritance of the children of Reuben according to their families, the cities and its villages. Moses gave to the tribe of Gad, to the children of Gad, according to their families. Their border was Jazer, and all the cities of Gilead, and half the land of the children of Ammon. To Aroer, that is, before Rabbah, and from Heshbon to Ramath Mizpah, and Betonim, and from Mahanaim to the borders of Debir, and in the valley, Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Succoth, and Zaphon, the rest of the kingdom of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the Jordan's bank, to the uttermost part of the sea of Chinnereth beyond the Jordan eastward. This is the inheritance of the children of Gad, according to their families, the cities and its villages. Moses gave an inheritance to the half-tribe of Manasseh. It was for the half-tribe of the children of Manasseh, according to their families. Their border was from Mahanaim, all Bashan, all the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, and all the towns of Jair, which are in Bashan, 60 cities. Half Gilead, Ashtaroth, and Edrei, the cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan, were for the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, even for the half of the children of Machir, according to their families. These are the inheritances which Moses distributed in the plains of Moab, beyond the Jordan at Jericho, eastward. But to the tribe of Levi Moses gave no inheritance. Yahweh, the God of Israel, is their inheritance, as he spoke to them. Chapter 14. These are the inheritances which the children of Israel took in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest, Joshua the son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers' houses of the tribes of the children of Israel distributed to them, by the lot of their inheritance, as Yahweh commanded by Moses, for the 9 tribes, and for the half-tribe. For Moses had given the inheritance of the 2 tribes, and a half-tribe beyond the Jordan, but to the Levites he gave no inheritance among them. For the children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim, and they gave no portion to the Levites in the land, except cities to dwell in, with their suburbs, for their livestock and for their property. The children of Israel did as Yahweh commanded Moses, and they divided the land. Then the children of Judah drew near to Joshua in Gilgal. Caleb, the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, said to him, You know the thing that Yahweh spoke to Moses, the man of God, concerning me, and concerning you, and Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of Yahweh, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land. I brought him word again, as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brothers who went up with me made the heart of the people melt.
but I wholly followed Yahweh my God. Moses swore on that day, saying, Surely the land where you walked shall be an inheritance to you and to your children forever, because you have wholly followed Yahweh my God. Now behold, Yahweh has kept me alive, as he spoke, these 45 years, from the time that Yahweh spoke this word to Moses, while Israel walked in the wilderness. Now, behold, I am 85 years old today. As yet I am as strong today as I was in the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, even so is my strength now for war, to go out and to come in. Now therefore give me this hill country, of which Yahweh spoke in that day. For you heard in that day how the Anakim were there, and great and fortified cities. It may be that Yahweh will be with me, and I shall drive them out, as Yahweh spoke. Joshua blessed him, and he gave Hebron to Caleb the son of Jephunneh for an inheritance. Therefore Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite to this day, because he wholly followed Yahweh the God of Israel. Now the name of Hebron before was Kiriath Arba, after the greatest man among the Anakim. The land had rest from war. Chapter 15. The lot for the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families was to the border of Edom, Edom to the wilderness of Zin southward, at the uttermost part of the south. Their south border was from the uttermost part of the salt sea, from the bay that looks southward, and it went out southward of the ascent of Akrabim, and passed along to Zin, and went up by the south of Kadesh Barnea, and passed along by Hezron, went up to Adar, and turned about to Karka, and it passed along to Asmon, went out at the brook of Egypt, and the border ended at the sea. This shall be your south border. The east border was the salt sea, even to the end of the Jordan. The border of the north quarter was from the bay of the sea at the end of the Jordan. The border went up to Beth Hoglah, and passed along by the north of Beth Arabah. And the border went up to the stone of Bohan the son of Reuben. The border went up to Debir from the valley of Achor, and so northward, looking toward Gilgal, that is over against the ascent of Adumim, which is on the south side of the river. The border passed along to the waters of En Shemesh, and ended at En Rogel. The border went up by the valley of the son of Hinnom, to the side of the Jebusite southward. The same is Jerusalem. And the border went up to the top of the mountain that lies before the valley of Hinnom westward, which is at the farthest part of the valley of Rephaim northward. The border extended from the top of the mountain to the spring of the waters of Nephtoah, and went out to the cities of Mount Ephron. And the border extended to Bala. The same is Kiriath Jearim. And the border turned about from Bala westward to Mount Seir, and passed along to the side of Mount Jearim on the north. The same is Chesalon, and went down to Beth Shemesh, and passed along by Timnah. And the border went out to the side of Ekron northward, and the border extended to Shikkeron, and passed along to Mount Bala, and went out at Jabneel. And the goings out of the border were at the sea. The west border was to be the shore of the great sea. This is the border of the children of Judah, according to their families. To Caleb the son of Jephunneh he gave a portion among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of Yahweh to Joshua, even Kiriath Arba, named after the father of Anak. The same is Hebron. Caleb drove out the 3 sons of Anak, Sheshai, and Ahiman, and Talmai, the children of Anak. He went up against the inhabitants of Debir. Now the name of Debir before was Kiriath Sepher. Caleb said, He who strikes Kiriath Sepher and takes it, to him will I give Achsah my daughter as wife. Othniel the son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, took it, and he gave him Achsah his daughter as wife. It happened when she came that she had him ask her father for a field. She got off her donkey, and Caleb said, What do you want? She said, Give me a blessing, because you have sent me in the land of the south. Give me also springs of water. He gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah, according to their families. The farthest cities of the tribe of the children of Judah toward the border of Edom in the south were Kabzeel, Eder, Jagur, Kinnah, Dimonah, Adah, Kadesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Ziph, Telem, Beloth, Hazor Hadadah, Kiriath Hezron, the same as Hazor, Aman, Shema, Moladah, Hazor Gada, Heshmon, Beth Pelet, Hazor Shual, Beersheba, Beziothil, Bela, Ayim, Ezem, Eltolad, Chesil, Hormah, Ziklag, Madmenah, Sansana, Lebauth, Shilhim, Ain, and Rimmon. All the cities were 29, with their villages. In the lowland, Eshtaol, Zorah, Ashna, Zanoah, and Ganim, Tapua, Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Sokol, Azekah, Sheriam, Adathim, and Gedera, or Gederothaim. 14 cities with their villages. Zenon, Hadashah, Migdal Gad, Dilian, Mizpah, Joktheel, Lachish, Bozkath, Eglon, Kabon, Laman, Chitlish, Gederoth, Beth Dagon, Nama, and Makkedah. 16 cities with their villages. Libnah, Ether, Ashan, Iftah, Ashna, Nezib, Kilal, Achzib, and Mersha, 9 cities with their villages. Ekron with its towns and its villages. From Ekron even to the sea, all that were by the side of Ashdod with their villages. Ashdod, its towns and its villages. Gaza, its towns and its villages, to the brook of Egypt, and the great sea with its coastline. In the hill country, Shamir, Jadar, Soko, Dana, Kiriath Shana, which is Deber, Anab, Ashtemo, Anim, Goshen, Holon, and Gilo, 11 cities with their villages. Arab, Duma, Eshan, Janim, Beth Tapua, Aphekah, Humta, Kiriath Arba, the same as Hebron, and Zior, 9 cities with their villages. Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Juthah, Jezreel, Jokiam, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah, 10 cities with their villages. Halhul, Beth Zur, Gedor, Merath, Beth Anoth, and Eltekon, 6 cities with their villages. Kiriath Baal, the same as Kiriath Jearim, and Rabbah, 2 cities with their villages. In the wilderness, Beth Araba, Midden, Zakaka, Nibshan, the city of salt, and En-gedi, 6 cities with their villages. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah couldn't drive them out, but the Jebusites live with the children of Judah at Jerusalem to this day. Chapter 16. The lot came out for the children of Joseph from the Jordan at Jericho, at the waters of Jericho on the east, even the wilderness, going up from Jericho through the hill country to Bethel. It went out from Bethel to Luz, and passed along to the border of the Architites, to Ataroth, and it went down westward to the border of the Japhletites, to the border of Beth Horon the lower, even to Gezer, and ended at the sea. The children of Joseph, Manasseh and Ephraim, took their inheritance. This was the border of the children of Ephraim according to their families. The border of their inheritance eastward was Ataroth Adar, to Beth Horon the upper. The border went out westward at Michmetheth on the north. The border turned about eastward to Tanath Shiloh, and passed along it on the east of Genoa. It went down from Genoa to Ataroth, to Nerah, reached to Jericho, and went out at the Jordan. From Tapua the borders went along westward to the brook of Cana, and ended at the sea. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Ephraim according to their families, together with the cities which were set apart for the children of Ephraim, in the midst of the inheritance of the children of Manasseh. All the cities with their villages. They didn't drive out the Canaanites who lived in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwell in the midst of Ephraim to this day, and have become servants to do forced labor. Chapter 17. This was the lot for the tribe of Manasseh, for he was the firstborn of Joseph, as for Machir the firstborn of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, because he was a man of war, therefore he had Gilead and Bashan. So this was for the rest of the children of Manasseh according to their families. For the children of Abiezer, for the children of Helek, for the children of Azriel, for the children of Sechem, for the children of Hepher, and for the children of Shemida. These were the male children of Manasseh the son of Joseph according to their families. But Zelophehad the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons, but daughters. And these are the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They came near before Eleazar the priest, and before Joshua the son of Nun, and before the princes, saying, Yahweh commanded Moses to give us an inheritance among our brothers. Therefore, according to the commandment of Yahweh, he gave them an inheritance among the brothers of their father. 10 parts fell to Manasseh, besides the land of Gilead and Bashan, which is beyond the Jordan, because the daughters of Manasseh had an inheritance among his sons. The land of Gilead belonged to the rest of the sons of Manasseh. The border of Manasseh was from Asher to Mishmethath, which is before Shechem. The border went along to the right hand to the inhabitants of En-Tappuah. The land of Tappuah belonged to Manasseh, but Tappuah on the border of Manasseh belonged to the children of Ephraim. The border went down to the brook of Cana, southward of the brook. These cities belonged to Ephraim among the cities of Manasseh. The border of Manasseh was on the north side of the brook, and ended at the sea. Southward it was Ephraim's, and northward it was Manasseh's, and the sea was his border. They reached to Asher on the north, and to Issachar on the east. Manasseh had 3 heights in Issachar, and Asher Bethshean and its towns, and Ibleam and its towns, and the inhabitants of Dor and its towns, and the inhabitants of Endor and its towns, and the inhabitants of Tanach and its towns, and the inhabitants of Medigo and its towns. Yet the children of Manasseh couldn't drive out the inhabitants of those cities, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. It happened, when the children of Israel had grown strong, that they put the Canaanites to forced labor, and didn't utterly drive them out. The children of Joseph spoke to Joshua, saying, Why have you given me just 1 part for an inheritance, since I am a great people, because Yahweh has blessed me so far? Joshua said to them, If you are a great people, then go up to the forest and clear land for yourself there in the land of the Perizzites and of the Rephaim, since the hill country of Ephraim is too narrow for you. The children of Joseph said, The hill country is not enough for us. All the Canaanites who dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both those who are in Bethshean and its towns, and those who are in the valley of Jezreel. Joshua spoke to the house of Joseph, even to Ephraim and to Manasseh, saying, You are a great people, and have great power. You shall not have 1 lot only, but the hill country shall be yours. Although it is a forest, you shall cut it down, and its farthest extent shall be yours. For you shall drive out the Canaanites, though they have chariots of iron, and though they are strong. End of chapters 9 to 17.